Belief in soul is not Dhamma. The Buddha said that religion based on soul is based on speculation. Nobody has seen the soul or has conversed with the soul. The soul is unknown and unseen. The thing that exists is not the soul but the mind. Mind is different from the soul. Belief in soul, he said, is unprofitable. A religion based on soul is therefore not worth having. It only ends in creating superstition. The Buddha did not leave the question there. He discussed it in all its aspects. Belief in the existence of soul is as common as the belief in the existence of God. Belief in the existence of soul was also a part of the Brahmanic religion. In the Brahmanic religion, the soul is called Atma or Atman. In the Brahmanic religion, Atman is the name given to an entity which was held to be abiding separate from the body, but living inside the body, constantly existing from the moment of his birth. Belief in the soul included other beliefs connected with it. The soul does not die with the body. It takes birth in another body when it comes into being. The body serves as an external clothing for the soul. Did the Buddha believe in the soul? No, he did not. His doctrine about the soul is called anatta, no soul. Given a disembodied soul, various questions arise. What is the soul? Where did it come from? What becomes of it on the death of the body? Where does it go? In what form does it exist hereafter? How long does it remain there? These questions the Buddha tried to argue out with the upholders of the doctrine of the soul. He first tried to show how vague was the idea about the soul, by his usual method of cross-examination. He asked those who believed in the existence of the soul, what the soul was like in size and in shape. To Ananda he said, the declarations concerning the soul are abounding. Some declare, my soul has a form and it is minute. Others declare the soul to have form and to be boundless and minute. Others declare it to be formless and boundless. In so many ways, Ananda. Are declarations made concerning the soul? How is the soul conceived by those who believe in the soul? Was another question raised by the Buddha. Some say, my soul is feeling. Others say, nay, my soul is not feeling, my soul is not sentient. Or again, nay, my soul is not feeling, nor is it non-sentient. My soul has feeling, it has the property of sentience. Under such aspects as these is the soul conceived. The Buddha next asked those who believed in the existence of the soul, as to the condition of the soul after the death of the body. He also raised the question whether the soul was visible after the death of the body. He found an infinite number of vague statements. Does the soul keep its form after the death of the body? He found that there were 8 different speculations. Does the soul die with the body? There were innumerable speculations on this. He also raised the question of the happiness or misery of the soul after the body is dead. Is the soul happy after the death of the body? On this also the recluses and Brahmins differed. Some said it was altogether miserable. Some said it was happy. Some said it is both happy and miserable. And some said it is neither happy nor miserable. His answer to all these theories about the existence of the soul was the same which he gave to Kunda. To Kunda he said, now, Kunda, to those recluses and Brahmins, who believe and profess any one of these views, I go and say this, is this so, friends? And if they reply, yes, this alone is true, any other view is absurd, I do not admit their claim. Why is this? Because persons hold different opinions on such questions. Nor do I consider this or that view on a level with my own, let alone higher. Now the more important question is, what were the arguments of the Buddha against the existence of the soul? The general arguments he advanced in support of his denial of the soul were the same as those which he advanced in support of his denial of the existence of God. He argued that the discussion of the existence of the soul is as unprofitable as the discussion of the existence of God. He argued that the belief in the existence of the soul is as much against the cultivation of samadhi as the belief in the existence of God. He argued that the belief in the existence of the soul is as much a source of superstition as the belief in God is. Indeed, in his opinion, the belief in the existence of a soul is far more dangerous than the belief in God. For not only does it create a priesthood, not only is it the origin of all superstition, but it gives the priesthood complete control over man from birth to death. Because of these general arguments, it is said that the Buddha did not express any definite opinion on the existence of the soul. Others have said that he did not repudiate the theory of the existence of the soul. Others have said that he was always dodging the issue. These statements are quite incorrect. For to Mahali he did tell in most positive terms that there is no such thing as a soul. That is why his theory of the soul is called anatta, that is, non-soul. Apart from the general arguments against the existence of the soul, the Buddha had a special argument against the existence of the soul which he regarded as fatal to the theory of the soul. His theory against the existence of the soul as a separate entity is called namarupa. The theory is the result of the application of the Vibhaja test, of sharp, rigorous analysis of the constituent elements of sentient being, otherwise called human personality. Namarupa is a collective name for a sentient being. According to the Buddha's analysis, a sentient being is a compound thing consisting of certain physical elements and certain mental elements. They are called khandhas. The rupa khandha primarily consists of the physical elements such as earth, water, fire, and air. They constitute the body or rupa. Besides rupa khandha, there is such a thing as nama khandha, which goes to make up a sentient being. This nama khandha is called vijnana, or consciousness. This nama khandha includes the three mental elements: vijnana sensation springing from contact of the six senses with the world, sana perception, sankhara states of mind. Cetana consciousness is sometimes spoken of along with the three other mental states as being one of them. A modern psychologist would say that consciousness is the mainspring from which other psychological phenomena arise. Vijnana is the center of a sentient being. Consciousness is a result of the combination of the four elements, Prithvi, Apa, Te, and Vayu. An objection is raised to this theory of consciousness propounded by the Buddha. Those who object to this theory ask, how is consciousness produced? It is true that consciousness arises with birth and dies with death. All the same, can it be said that consciousness is the result of the combination of the four elements? The Buddha's answer was not that the coexistence or aggregation of the physical elements produces consciousness. What the Buddha said was that wherever there was rupa or kaya, there was consciousness accompanying it. To give an analogy from science, there is an electric field, and wherever there is an electric field it is always accompanied by a magnetic field. No one knows how the magnetic field is created, or how it arises. But it always exists along with the electric field. Why should not the same relationship be said to exist between body and consciousness? The magnetic field in relation to the electric field is called an induced field. Why cannot consciousness be called an induced field in relation to Rupakaya? The Buddha's argument against the soul is not yet complete. He had further to say something of importance. Once consciousness arises, man becomes a sentient being. Consciousness is, therefore, the chief thing in man's life. Consciousness is cognitive, emotional, and volitional. Consciousness is cognitive when it gives knowledge, information, as appreciating or apprehending, whether it be appreciation of internal facts or of external things and events. Consciousness is emotional when it exists in certain subjective states, characterized by either pleasurable or painful tones, when emotional consciousness produces feeling. Consciousness in its volitional stage makes a being exert himself for the attainment of some end. Volitional consciousness gives rise to what we call will or activity. It is thus clear that all the functions of a sentient being are performed by the sentient being through and as a result of consciousness. After this analysis, the Buddha asked what are the functions which are left to be performed by the soul. All functions assigned to the soul are performed by consciousness. A soul without any function is an absurdity. This is how the Buddha disproved the existence of the soul. That is why the existence of the soul cannot be a part of Dhamma. Belief in sacrifices is not Dhamma. The Brahmanic religion was based upon sacrifices. Some sacrifices were classified as nithya and other sacrifices were classified as nimitik. The nithya sacrifices were obligations and had to be performed whether one got any fruit therefrom or not. The nimitik sacrifices were performed when the performer wanted to gain something by way of worldly advantage. The Brahmanic sacrifices involved drinking, killing animals, and merrymaking. Yet these sacrifices were held as religious observances. The Buddha declined to regard a religion based on sacrifices as worth having. He has given his reasons to many a Brahmin who went to have a controversy with him as to why sacrifices were not part of religion. It is reported that there were 3 Brahmins who had a controversy with him on the subject. They were Kuttadarita, Ajjaya, and the third was Udayan. Kuttanta the Brahmin requested the Blessed One to tell him what he thought about the value of a sacrifice. The Blessed One said, "Well then, O Brahmin, give ear and listen attentively and I will speak." "Very well, sir," said Kuttanta in reply. And the Blessed One spoke as follows, "Long ago, O Brahmin, there was a king by name Mahavijaya, mighty, with great wealth and large property, with stores of silver and gold, of aids to enjoyment, of goods and corn, with his treasure houses and his garners full. Now when King Mahavijaya was once sitting alone in meditation, he became anxious at the thought, 'I have in abundance all the good things a mortal can enjoy. The whole wide circle of the earth is mine by conquest to possess. It were well if I were to offer a great sacrifice that should ensure me weal and welfare for many days.' Thereupon the Brahmin who was chaplain said to the king's country, 'Sire, is harassed and harried. There are dacoits abroad who pillage the villages and townships and who make the roads unsafe. Were the king, so long as that is so, to levy a fresh tax, verily his majesty would acting wrongly. But perchance his majesty might think, I'll soon put a stop to these scoundrels' game by degradation and banishment, and fines and bonds and death. But their license cannot be satisfactorily put a stop to. The remnant left unpunished would still go on harassing the realm. Now there is one method to adopt to put a thorough end to this disorder. Whosoever there be in the king's realm who devote themselves to keeping cattle and the farm, to them let his majesty the king give food and seed corn. Whosoever there be in the king's realm who devote themselves to trade, to them let his majesty the king give capital. Whosoever there be in the king's realm who devote themselves to government service, to them let his majesty the king give wages and food. Then those men, following each his own business, will no longer harass the realm. The king's revenue will go up. The country will be quiet and at peace. And the populace, pleased one with another and happy, dancing their children in their arms, will dwell with open doors without fear." Then King Mahavijaya, O Brahmin, accepted the word of his chaplain, and did as he had said. And those men, following each his business, harassed the realm no more. And the king's revenue went up. And the country became quiet and at peace. And the populace, pleased one with another and happy, dancing their children in their arms, dwelt with open doors. When peace and order was restored, King Mahavijaya had his chaplain called again and said, "The disorder is at an end. The country is at peace. I want to offer that great sacrifice. Let the Venerable One instruct me how, for my weal and my welfare for many days." The chaplain, replying to the king, said, "Be it so. Let his majesty the king send invitations to those in the town and the country in his realm who are kshatriyas, vassals of his, who are ministers and officials of his, or who are Brahmins of position, or who are householders of substance, saying, I intend to offer a great sacrifice. Let the Venerable Ones give their sanction to what will be to me for weal and welfare for many days." Then the king, O Brahmin Kuttadanta, accepted the word of his chaplain, and did as he had said. And they each, Kshatriya and ministers and Brahmins and householders, made a like reply, "Let his majesty the king celebrate the sacrifice. The time is suitable, O king." King Vijaya was wise and gifted in many ways, and his chaplain was equally wise and gifted. The chaplain, O Brahmin, before the sacrifice had begun, explained to the king what it would involve. Should his majesty the king, before starting on the great sacrifice or whilst he is offering the great sacrifice, or when the great sacrifice has been offered, feel any such regret as, "Great alas, has been the portion of my wealth used up herein," let not the king harbor such regret. And further, O Brahmin, the chaplain, before the sacrifice had begun, in order to prevent any compunction that might afterwards arise as regards those who had taken part therein, said, "Now there will come to your sacrifice, sire, men who destroy the life of living things, and men who refrain therefrom, men who take what has not been given, and men who refrain therefrom. Men who act evilly in respect of lusts, and men who refrain therefrom. Men who speak lies, and men who do not. Men who slander, and men who do not. Men who speak rudely, and men who do not. Men who chatter vain things, and men who refrain therefrom. Men who covet, and men who covet not. Men who harbor ill will, and men who harbor it not. Men whose views are wrong, and men whose views are right. Of each of these, let them who do evil, alone with their evil. For them who do well, let your majesty offer. For them, sire, arrange the rites. Them let the king gratify, in them shall your heart within find peace. And further, O Brahmin, at that sacrifice neither were any oxen slain, neither goats, nor fowls, nor fatted pigs. Nor were any kinds of living creatures put to death. No trees were cut down to be used as posts, no dabba grasses mown to strew around the sacrificial spot. And the slaves and messengers and workmen there employed were driven neither by rods nor fear, nor carried on their work weeping with tears upon their faces. Whoso chose to help, he worked. Whoso chose not to help, worked not. What each chose to do, he did. What they chose not to do, that was left undone. With ghee, and oil and butter, and milk and honey, and sugar only was that sacrifice accomplished. Let your sacrifice be such as that of King Vicheta, if you at all wish to perform any sacrifice. Sacrifices are a waste. Animal sacrifices are cruelties. Sacrifices cannot be part of religion. It is a worst form of religion which says you can go to heaven by killing an animal. I was inclined to ask, is there, O Gautama, any other sacrifice with more fruit and more advantage than killing animals? Yes, O Brahmin, there is. And what, O Gautama, may that be? When a man with trusting heart takes upon himself the precepts, abstinence from destroying life, abstinence from taking what has not been given, abstinence from evil conduct in respect of lusts, abstinence from lying words, abstinence from strong, intoxicating, maddening drinks, the root of carelessness. That is a sacrifice better than open largesse, better than perpetual alms, better than the gift of dwelling places, better than accepting guidance. And when he had thus spoken, Kuttaranta the Brahmin said to the Blessed One, Most excellent, O Gautama, are the words of thy mouth, most excellent. Now the Brahmin Ujjaya said this to the Exalted One, Pray, does the worthy Gautama praise sacrifice? No, Brahmin, I do not praise every sacrifice. Yet I would not withhold praise from every sacrifice. In whatever sacrifice, Brahmin, cows are slaughtered, goats and sheep are slaughtered, poultry and pigs are slaughtered, and diverse living creatures come to destruction, such sacrifice, Brahmin, which involves butchery, I do not praise. Why so? To such a sacrifice, Brahmin, involving butchery, neither the worthy ones nor those who have entered on the worthy way draw near. But in whatever sacrifice, Brahmin, cows are not slaughtered, and living creatures come not to destruction. Such sacrifice not involving butchery, I do praise, such as, for instance, a long-established charity, an oblation for the welfare of the family. Why so? Because, Brahmin, the worthy ones, those who have entered on the worthy way, do draw near to such a sacrifice which involves not butchery. The Brahmin Ujjayin asked the same question to the Exalted One as was asked by the Brahmin Ujjaya. Pray, does the worthy Gautama praise sacrifice? The Buddha gave the same answer which he gave to Ujjaya. He said, Fit sacrifice performed in season due and free from cruelty, to such draw near. Those well trained in the God life, even those who have the veil rolled back while yet on earth, who have transcended time and going, such do the enlightened praise, those skilled in merit. Whether in sacrifice or act of faith, oblation fitly made with heart devout, to that good field of merit, those who live the good life, sacrificed, conferred, so given, lavish the offering, devas therewith are pleased. Thus offering, the thoughtful, thereby becoming wise, wins the blissful world from suffering free. Belief based on speculation is not Dhamma. It was usual to ask such questions as, 1. Was I in ages past? 2. Was I not in ages past? 3. What was I then? 4. From what did I pass to what? 5. Shall I be in ages to come? 6. Shall I not be in ages to come? 7. What shall I then be? 8. How shall I then be? 9. From what shall I pass to what? Or, again, it is self today about which he is in doubt, asking himself, 1. Am I? 2. Am I not? 3. What am I? 4. How am I? 5. Whence came my being? 6. Whither will it pass? As regards the universe, various questions were raised. Some of them were as follows. How was the universe created? Is it everlasting? In answer to the first question, some said everything was created by Brahma. Others said it was created by Prajapati. In answer to the second question, some said it was everlasting. Others said it was not. Some said it was finite. Others said it was infinite. These questions the Buddha refused to entertain. He said that they could only be asked and entertained by wrong-headed people. To answer these questions required omniscience which nobody had. He said that he was not omniscient enough to answer these questions. No one could claim to know all that is to be known, nor what we wish to know at any time is known at the time. There is always something that is unknown. It is for these reasons that the Buddha excluded such doctrines from his religion. He regarded a religion which made such doctrines a part of it as a religion not worth having. The doctrines with which the contemporaries of the Buddha had made the basis of their religion were concerned with 1. Self, and 2. The origin of the universe. Other teachers had other questions to raise. The world is everlasting. The world is not everlasting. The world is finite. The world is infinite. The body is the life jiva.